Hello, I'm Donald Leggett, and welcome to the latest London South East CEO interview. I'm joined today by Eldur Olafsson, CEO at AEX Gold. AEX is listed on both AIM and Canada's TSXV market. AEX is a gold and green minerals company centered on Greenland. Its core focus is to build a Greenlandic mining company which Greenlanders can be proud of. AEX is a large exploration and development portfolio with Nalunaq gold mine its flagship project. Hello, Eldur.
Hi there, hi.
It's great to see you today, Eldur.
Well, you too, and thanks for having me.
Oh no, it really is our pleasure. I can't wait. You sound like a slightly different and absolutely intriguing company.
Well, we do think so. We are obviously a Greenlandic company, even though we're listed in two exchanges. So there are not many Greenlandic companies that people often come by, even though Greenland is quite wonderful in all ways and forms.
But you have a Greenlandic culture and philosophical position about you. Now that really does make you different at a philosophical level. So on an operational level on the ground, how does that translate? How do you operate differently in Greenland?
Well, I would look at it like if we take a step back, Greenland, what does Greenland have to offer to an investment community? Well, it is the largest island in the world. It's half the size of Australia. It has the oldest rocks that you can find in the world, and they're all on surface. So geology there, if anything is given, geology would be given there, right? It's Scandinavia in terms of how it's run, the government. It's under Danish rule, but it's a home ruling government in Greenland. But it is in Greenland, and myself, I'm Icelandic, so I understand a bit about living in the Arctic. So what it comes down to is operatorship. And operatorship is not necessarily about how you move a truck from A to B. It's about people. And people are the one who are going to build, create, get things done. And there is a certain, the Greenlandic people, they've lived there for thousands of years. I mean, we, the Vikings, we tried to get there for a few hundred years and we died out. So when we say Greenlandic company and have a Greenlandic philosophy, we want the Greenlanders to be proud of our company that we're building up there. And we do that by integrating Greenlandic people, businesses, stakeholders into the whole entity, everywhere from board, management, geologists, drillers, everywhere. And it's a key to make a company work in our mind.
That's a fascinating answer, which takes us to my next question for you. Why gold and green metals in Greenland? What makes those attractive? You said the geology has everything. So why those amongst everything?
Yeah, so again, we decided to be in South Greenland. South Greenland is the same latitude as, I don't know, the most northern part of Britain or Oslo. So Greenland is so big that, South Greenland is more southerly than Iceland, okay? And being an Icelandic or Scandinavian entity is quite important for us to be in an environment where you have the fjords never freeze up, and there's an airport down there, all of these different things. But what is more important is South Greenland hosts one of the most interesting geology you can find in Greenland. So you might be familiar with the statement of the former president of the United States, Donald Trump, when he wanted to buy the country. And it's a lot to do with South Greenland. South Greenland holds and hosts the biggest strategic and rare earth minerals that the world has in 3 deposits, and it's completely underexplored. Then separately to that, there are the same gold geology that goes through South Greenland that goes through Canada and Sweden and Finland. So there's a known rocks and known geology that is on there on surface. So combining these things together, you have something that is quite unique due to the fact that Greenland really opened up the mining industry in 2009, which means that all of these resources are discoveries on surface. We just haven't quantified them. So what I mean by that, you literally find them by stumbling across them, and they are. We pick the rocks and the deposit from surface. We don't, there's no forest. There's no vegetation. There's nothing that hinders our side, because the glaciers there have worked as a giant geological shovel. It has shoveled the rocks all the way from the top of the mountains down to the bottom of the fjord. So everything is exposed there. So the combination of these factors make it so interesting that's why we feel we are sitting on something extremely valuable. And maybe last addition to this, sorry, I just to put this into context, I often use this way of explaining it, is that most of the world has been mined for the past 200 years, except, let's call it Greenland, Afghanistan, and Colombia, right? And, you know, most of the other African, South American, Canada, all of it has been mined. So either you're going in these areas deeper to find something, which is more expensive most of the time, or you're venturing off into jurisdictions that sometimes are maybe less safe. But Greenland has the combination of both, right? And it's been the glacier that has hindered people from coming in there rather than, and there's a lack of people there. And we have something to solve there.
Okay, which takes us on. Let's getting more granular, slowly drilling down, if I may say so. You already have a substantial gold resource at the old Nalunaq mine, South Greenland, and beyond that, the largest portfolio of gold assets in South Greenland. So you're doing pretty well in terms of driving your strategy. Now you've been at Nalunaq 5 years. You're expanding the resource by drilling 10,000 meters, I understand. What's the plan going forwards there?
Yeah, so Nalunaq has all of the attribution you want in a good mining project. Okay, number one, it's permitted. It takes on average 7 to 10 years to get a permit in the mining industry today in a developed country. Number two, it has a resource, and we have an understanding of the geological controls. What I mean by that, we think we have an understanding how we increase that resource, right? So our resource is 250,000 ounces, but we have an exploration potential of 2 million ounces. So it's all about how we get into that 2 million ounces. Then we have infrastructure on site, which is roads, bridges, 20 kilometers of underground tunnel. I mean, this, if I should put a number on it, you're looking at somewhere between $100 to $150 million already invested in civil work, which is difficult to invest in the Arctic, right? So this is all in place. Most importantly, it is an area where we can do what we call a green mining, or our attribute is to do a green mining, because that's an important feature of how you do mining going forward. And the key to that is the fact that the grade, the gold grade, the amount of gold that is in each ton is one of the highest you can find in the world. That both means that you're moving less of rock, which usually means lower cost, and therefore the cash flow profile of a project like this one with such a high grade, usually in the industry, is very, very good. So all of the combining factor gives us an operating base to then expand to these other areas that we have surrounding now. Okay,
let's keep going on that track then. 10,000 meters drilled. Have you had the results back from those assays? And you know, give us a sense of that, and just tell us what a great prospect Nalunaq actually is.
Yeah, so I mean, currently so we haven't had the results to answer yet. We were waiting for those results to come back, and that should be with us by end of March now. We got a little bit delayed due to COVID and staffing in the labs, etc. But that's all coming towards us. The focus for us is that the current market cap of the company is mainly attributed to our flagship project in Nalunaq, which is about 100 million Canadian dollars. So for us to increase the resources,
55 million pounds for our audience.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good market cap, by the way.
Yeah. So to increase the value, it's essentially a DCF model of how or as I see the analysts, how they're reviewing it, is how large is the resource, how much is going to be mined, how long is that mine life going to be. So that's what we're hoping the results will deliver to the market, is that we have some kind of good handle on that. Once we have that, we then start trotting down the path of increasing that to increase the value, move that value upward by having more and more ounces available to us. And that's going to be quite exciting for us to get those results back. And then based on those results, we will then decide on continuing drilling in Nalunaq and or the other vital portfolio, and then how we develop this mine into production eventually.
Are you looking at a pre-feasibility study, perhaps?
Yes, we have looked into that. That's a key feature for us to look at. There are various features why we are doing that. One is that we feel, or we are working towards getting higher confidence level in the resource. What that means, to give people an example, on an inferred basis, you can be drilling on a 50 to 100 meter spacing. So you reduce your spacing between holes down to something less. And then the confidence level goes up, which means that you can then work a pre-feasibility study on a project like this. Why is that important? Well, you open yourself up for more sources of capital, being private equity funds, debt providers, etc., etc. And various other funds can then invest in the project as it is. So that's a key feature. We have done most of this pre-feasibility study or a feasibility level study already, in terms of we've acquired the 60 to 80% of all of the processing equipment. We've done the studies, all of the infrastructure work, all of the key items that are quite costly in a project like this. What we are now waiting for is to slot in the geology into that study, and then we would have a path going forward.
Oh, so it's not the usual order of play.
No, it's not, and part of it is because this was obviously mined from 2004 to 2014. So there's a lot of knowledge of this. This does work. It's all about increasing the reserves before you start.
Can I be devil and jump in and just say,
yeah.
I understand you've got cash reserves of 20 million.
Yeah.
It may cost, I've got this off the internet, so it's probably completely wrong, 50 million to redevelop the mine. How would you fund that gap? And are you going to do it with a partner? Essentially that's the big question for you, isn't it? How to take it forwards?
Correct. So I think what we said in our previous statement, so like we have a 8 million sterling as a project cost for everything above surface. What we are now still working on is understanding the cost that needs to be going to the mining or pre-development, right? So those are items. So there's 58 plus that, right? Just so everybody's clear on that. So this exactly relates to the PFS. Once we have the PFS, you can then start swapping on the project. How much of the project would you take on the debt? How much would be other sources of capital, potentially including equity as well? But that's all based on a more valuable portfolio of assets, not only Nalunaq, but potentially also the wider region as well.
So you're trying to pull finance in for more than just Nalunaq.
Well, not necessarily. We just have a portfolio of assets that are very, very interesting. And what we do internally is that we evaluate each project based on scale, size, where they are in the exploration cycle, where they are in terms of value. And that's how we attribute investment into this project. And then we start building up a portfolio of assets. Because this is quite important. You asked the question about joint venture partners or strategic investors. Most strategic investors, being majors and so on, they look for something really, really, really large. And we believe we have few elephant potential deposits in Greenland, but those are also risky to explore. They're on surface and they're interesting. So that's how we built our portfolio, almost like a stock portfolio, where we do this after a certain procedures to increase the value for our shareholders. Would
you consider selling one of those assets in order to fund development on all the other ones?
All of these options are available to us, but we feel that most of the value in our share price today is mostly contributed to Nalunaq. We haven't been contributing much value for our 8 exploration targets at all. So it is quite a bit of work for us to go to the market, explain the value of the exploration acreage, explain the development path for this asset, because those are, in our mind, really valuable as well. And what we are seeing in the industry is turning again towards exploration, because when you mine so much and you don't replace it, you need something new. And there are a few deals that happened last year where companies are essentially acquiring exploration acreage, of most of the time in where you already have resources. So it's an important feature of the value creation in the company. So it's a balanced portfolio of assets, I would say.
Sadly, we're slightly running out of time. So what news flow can we expect in the next few months from you, Eldur? What's coming up?
Yeah, so we will be coming up with a drilling result. Based on those drilling results, we will see if we do a resource update for Nalunaq, and then we will look into ongoing PFS studies on various different fronts, so updating the track record on that. We will be delivering to the market exploration results of somewhere between 5 to 10 different exploration properties that we have, both in strategic minerals and in gold. So in gold, it would be Nalunaq, Vagar, and Nanoq, which would be the primary one. And then in green minerals, it would be Sava, and then a nickel PGM play, and even a graphite play that we will be mostly focused on delivering to the market.
So lots and lots of stuff coming up. What would that be in the next 6 months?
Yes. So it's in the next 3 to 6 months, and then, mind you, in Greenland, in South Greenland, we can operate on, like, we have people in our 50 people camp in Greenland already, so there are people there. South Greenland is very much like being here in Reykjavik, so we can operate in Greenland actually longer than most places in Greenland. So we were drilling up till 15th of December last year. And our hope is, dependent on the snow, that we can start drilling and exploring in April, May. So we'll be very quickly going again and continue adding value for our shareholders in de-risking these assets.
Very interesting. Final question: why should I invest in Greenland? Well, don't go there. We understand why Greenland and why AEX. No, truly, what a great place. Why AEX rather than several other listed miners? The AIM listed miners currently working there. So why you rather than them?
I think the key for us, and I can't speak about others, but what I think we have is that we have integrity as a company, and we have quality in people and quality in asset and quality in shareholders. And it has been our goal in this business and previous businesses that I founded, and the people who are around us in our board and so on, is to do the right thing. And we feel that what we have been doing in the past 8 years in Greenland is to create the groundwork to create something very, very special. And if you look at the overall aspect of the business, not only the asset or something like this, the key for us is to say, you should not have opportunity to say, I'm not going to invest. There should not be a no in there in our mind. And that part of that is to do the right thing and have a long-term perspective of how our investments are made.
Well, it's been a delight speaking to you, Eldur. You do things your own way. I love that. You're a bit of an ESG company, but doing it not the greenwashing ESG, but the real thing. So that's absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for sparing your time to be with us today. For more free company information and data about AEX Gold, please go to our AEX Gold pages on London South East. You're already very familiar to our users, Eldur. Do follow us on Twitter at London South East, or register on London South East YouTube. So that's, you just Google London South East YouTube and you'll find us, and then hit subscribe, and then you'll get alerts to interviews just like this one. Thank you for watching, and as always, please do stay safe.